special edition of the broadcast. Over the course of the next 30 minutes, we'll be updating you on everything that's been happening around the world. And let's start with some national news first, where the GDP projections have dropped sharply to 6.5% in the latest numbers that have been released by the country's Central Statistics Office. Now, the latest projection is a drop from an earlier estimate of 7.1%. As per the report, this is mainly due to a slowdown in the agriculture and manufacturing output. The real estate, fishing and forestry sectors could also be expected to see some slowdown, and the Central Statistics Office has said that the GDP growth rate is expected to improve in the second half of the financial year 2017-18. Now, according to a preliminary investigation report by the Mumbai Fire Department, flying embers from illegal hookahs that were being served at Mojo's Bistro was the probable cause of the massive fire in the Kamala Mills compound. The report has further said that none of the two restaurants, Mojo and One Above, had permissions to serve liquor and also hookah, but they had still served them. It is also said that the pub staff seemed unaware of the emergency exit and the use of bamboo and cloth to make the roof, and the wind velocity had contributed to the quick spreading of the fire. 14 people had been killed in the tragedy that took place on the 29th of December. Now, the second leg of her three-nation tour, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj met with Indonesian Vice President. She has also held talks with her counterpart and has discussed ways to strengthen the strategic partnership between the two countries. Now, Sushma Swaraj will also be co-chairing the 5th meeting of the India-Indonesia Joint Commission. The minister will also inaugurate the 2nd meeting of the ASEAN-India Network of Think Tanks. As New Delhi looks to strengthen ties with the overseas citizens, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be inaugurating the first ever person of Indian origin parliamentarian conference in New Delhi. Now, over 120 members of the parliament, 17 mayors of Indian origin from 23 countries, including the United Kingdom, the United States, South Africa and Canada, are expected to participate in the conference in New Delhi on the 9th of January to mark the Non-Resident Indians Day. The Indian diaspora population is growing fast, with over 25 million people settling overseas since colonial times, from Guyana in South America to Singapore in East Asia. Police in Kashmir have arrested 5 drug peddlers and have also seized about 7 kilograms of heroin as a part of an ongoing anti-narcotics drive. Now, police officials have said that the high-grade heroin was to be transported in Punjab. The seized heroin reportedly had markings of Pakistan and Afghanistan on it and was said to be worth about $5.4 million. Along with heroin, mobile phones and banknotes were also seized, and further investigation into the matter is presently underway. The exiled Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, has held a teaching session in India's holy town of Bodh Gaya on Friday. Hundreds of monks, devotees and tourists braved chilly winter mornings to attend the Nobel laureate spiritual session. A 10-day ice sports training camp for girls is underway in the Leh town of Indian Kashmir. The free training camp, organized by the Ladakh Women Ice Hockey Foundation, is aimed at encouraging more girls to take up sports like ice hockey and ice skating. Now, a total of 110 girls of all ages are presently participating in the camp. A strike by Transport Workers Union in Tamil Nadu has left scores of commuters stranded at the bus stops in various parts of the state on Friday. Tamil Nadu State Transport Corporation began the strike on Friday midnight as wage revision talks between its representatives and the state government failed. The strike impacted people across the state, including school children and office goers. Now, with buses not plying, taxis and auto rickshaws charged hefty fares and private buses were overcrowded, with passengers hanging onto the doors. Alright, let's shift our focus to some international stories now, where the United Nations Security Council has held an emergency meet to discuss the anti-government protests that have rocked Iran. The session, which was called by the United States, was heavily criticized by Russia. Making the opening remarks, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, has warned Iran and has said that the regime is now on notice and that the world is watching them very closely. But also the Iranian government has called this meet as just a desperate attempt by the United States administration that has lost complete credibility in the world. This, even as thousands of pro-government supporters have held rallies across Iran, while the government claims that the unrest has been brought to an end. The 2611 mastermind and Jamaat al-Dawa chief has sent out a defamation notice to Pakistan's Defence Minister Khurram Dastagir. The Saeed has claimed that the minister defamed his organization just days after Trump's speech against Islamabad sheltering terrorists. Now, in its 100 million rupees notice, the Jamaat al-Dawa has said that Dastagir is effectively speaking the language of US President Donald Trump. Now, the minister has been asked to tender an apology in writing within 15 days or face litigation. Also, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Khwaja Asif has slammed the United States for behaving as a friend who always betrays. Now, the comment comes just a day after the Trump administration suspended aid to Islamabad and accused Islamabad of shielding terrorists. Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa has ruled out forming a coalition government. Mnangagwa has made the announcement after meeting with the opposition leaders. Zimbabwe is due to hold elections in the year 2018 and it is being seen as the first big political test for Emmerson Mnangagwa after he rose to power in November last year following a de facto military coup that had led to the downfall of Robert Mugabe. Denouncing US's justice system, Erdogan has said that Turkey could rethink some bilateral agreements with Washington. Now, Erdogan's comments come in the light of conviction of a Turkish banker by the US court. Some of the court testimony has implicated senior Turkish officials, including Erdogan. Now, Ankara has said that the case has put agreements between the two countries in jeopardy. Flight services at the LaGuardia airport have resumed after a day of total closure. More than 4,600 flights had been cancelled due to poor weather. Weather forecasters have predicted life-threatening dip in temperature and also a record-breaking cold and strong winds over the course of the next few days. Now, the storm began 2 days ago in the Gulf of Mexico and has wreaked havoc across the eastern coast, with blizzard warnings and also a state of emergency being declared in several states. And heavy rainfall in the French capital has caused the water levels of the river Seine to rise by more than 3 meters on Friday. By afternoon, the levels had risen by 3.26 meters, and this was expected to rise further over the weekend. The water level is expected to stabilize early next week. However, the Parisian police have said that they were monitoring the situation very closely and had also made preparations for any emergency that may actually occur due to a case of flooding. Now, the month of June in 2016, the Seine had hit its highest levels in over 30 years, submerging riverside roads, swamping small businesses on quaysides, and also forcing the closure of an underground commuter line. The Catalans attending the traditional Three Kings parade on Friday in the town of Manresa wore yellow in a show of support for the jailed pro-independence leaders. Spain's Supreme Court had ordered on Friday that Catalonia's former vice president Oriol Junqueras must remain in custody after over 2 months in prison while authorities investigate his role in the Spanish region's independence movement. The annual Three Kings celebrates the day 3 biblical wise men are said to have arrived with gifts for infant Jesus 12 days after Christmas.